Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Yak Tribe Kayak Show. This is episode number 5, and today we are going to have Rick Patri from MonsterBass on with us today. We've got swag to give away. We got a lot of good things to talk about. We're going to talk about the elephant in the room. What may that be? Stick around and find out. We got some great questions to ask Rick. Rick is a great guy, knows a lot of stuff, has a ton of history behind him when it comes to entrepreneurship and building brands. So we're going to speak to him, but I wanted to let you guys know before we call Rick and get started with him, guys, to get entered to win the swag, remember, all you got to do is subscribe to the YouTube channel. That's one way. Leave a comment on the video. Leave a review of our podcast on Apple Podcasts. Subscribe on SoundCloud. Just do something. Engage with us in one way or another, and that will enter you to win. And so this week, we are giving away a MonsterBass subscription. We've given away KBF swag, Yak Tribe swag, action hat. We have a kayak to give away soon here in a few weeks. So guys, please stick around, get involved in everything that's going on, and it's going to be a great show. Remember, the reason we do this show is to highlight the people behind the products, highlight the people behind the industry, in the industry, but behind the companies, behind all the facade of everything they have going on. Let's highlight the people. And so that's why we do this. We lived in an RV on the road for close to 3 years, my wife and myself and my 2 kids at the time, just hanging out with Yak Tribe members, hanging out with people, and just getting to know their story, fishing, eating, doing that kind of thing. And so this is still my way of being able to do that and highlight people's stories while we're not on the road. And so, guys, thank you so much for being here. We're going to go ahead and give Rick a call.
Hello?
Rick, what's up, man?
Hey, how are you?
Doing good. First off, before we get started and start asking questions and talking and everything like that, I wanted to say, first of all, thank you for being on my show. I know that you're extremely busy. You have a lot of things to do, a lot of things going on with your company and everything that you have. So I want to say thank you for being a part of the Yak Tribe Kayak Show, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you having me on the show. It really means a lot.
Of course. I mean, we've known each other for what, like 4 years now, since 2015 or something?
Yeah, it's been a long time now. So
I remember the time our first engagement ever. I had made this terrible, when I thought I was like, I thought I was like the man, and I made this terrible unboxing video, and you had left a comment, and you're like, what did you say? You're like, hit me up for a box or something like that. And I was like,
I don't remember.
It was something like that. And so that kind of started.
Trying to be supportive.
Yeah, super trying to be supportive. And so that eventually turned into just me working with you and working under you. And so that was a good time. And so, yeah, terrible unboxing videos is how we got to meet, I guess.
Hey, there's a lot of terrible unboxing videos. And I reach out to all of them because whether they're good or bad, someone's taking the time to make it and support someone's business.
That's
so you
right.
got to appreciate them all.
Yeah, man. And now we're trying to keep them under 30 seconds, right?
Well, I just don't have 11 minutes in my day to watch someone unbox six items.
Yeah.
So.
I gotcha, man. So let's hop right into it because I know your time is valuable. And so the first question that we have until we get into some real questions about you. And so I know you might not be too familiar with our show. Probably don't have time to watch all the episodes. But the thing is we highlight the people behind the companies. And so we don't really care about the specs and like how fast the kayak is and all that kind of stuff or whatever. We just want to know about the person who created it because a lot of times the person who created the product or the company or whatever or the manufacturer, they basically become that thing. And I'm trying to separate the person from that thing and learn about who that person is and how they got to be where they're at and ask some questions. So that's what it's all about, man. But before we get to those questions, here's the first one. The elephant in the room.
Let's do it.
What happened with LTB and why did you start MonsterBass?
Wow.
We went straight there because the people want to know.
You went straight for it. I helped start Lucky Tackle Box, and Lucky Tackle Box was my baby. I had someone that funded the company, so I wasn't the majority owner, but I ran a lot of the day-to-day operations. And, we were watching the changes that were taking place in the marketplace. You had, on one hand, you had mystery who was coming out with, they made it really clear. They were going to come out with 10 or 12 of their own house brands, and they were going to stop. They were going to start to fill the box with baits from their house brand. And so at Lucky, we were making decisions on, what were we going to do in the upcoming year. So we got to the planning phase, and I put together a business plan, and my plan was a little bit different. Because in my opinion, I would much rather receive a box full of baits from brands that have been around, brands that have invested a ton of money into product development, than a bunch of brands that, you just go to overseas, pick a bait off the shelf, throw it in a box, and give it a name. To me, it just felt like I wasn't really providing a service to my customers that I would want. And so when I built the plan, I said for the next year, we weren't going to follow suit. And, we ultimately had a difference of opinion because, it does come down to profits. If you go overseas and you just buy a bunch of baits and put, Bass, I'm just making up a name, Bass Crasher on it, you can buy those baits for 60 cents and really lower your profit margin. And I didn't want to do that. And so ultimately we just parted ways. I mean, it's, this stuff happens all the time in business. No harm, no foul. I don't hold a grudge. It's just a difference of opinion. And quite honestly, the CEO, it was his money, so he gets to make those decisions.
So can we expect those types of baits in the boxes in the future? These Chinese baits? Is that what we're going to see in MonsterBass, or?
Yeah. So, I took some time off and I thought about all the things we did at Lucky Tackle Box. What was good? What was bad? What would I do differently? And the one thing that I realized was I really wanted to just focus primarily on bass fishing. I think when, at Lucky, and then we won't talk about Lucky again, but, at Lucky, we had 8 different boxes, and it's really hard to put together quality boxes when you're a small business, right? You've got to select baits for your bass box, your saltwater box, your crappie box, your fly fishing box, and so on. And you only have so many people in the day. And if you have 8 different boxes and you're trying to pick 8 different baits, that's 64 different baits a month. And ultimately some boxes are going to be better than others. And I wanted to put out something that was a consistent product each and every month. And so the focus of what we're doing at MonsterBass is to be specific about bass, create regionally and seasonally focused boxes, and deliver the highest quality product that we possibly can. So I've been very clear. We're not going to go overseas and just buy a bunch of baits and create a bunch of brands. We're going to create one brand, the MonsterBass brand. We're going to develop those baits, and we're going to have 2 lineups within MonsterBass. We're going to have our, the more traditional plastic baits that are constructed, and then we're going to have a balsa lineup. And the balsa lineup will be limited edition balsa baits that'll be designed in partnership with Jarmo Rapala of the Rapala family. Okay. So we're gonna invest in creating baits, and that's why you won't even see them in the box. To date we've developed 3 baits, and that's it, because it takes a lot of time. It's a lot of hard work creating good quality baits.
All right, so we got that question out of here. So let's move on to some some real stuff, man. All right. So here's the thing: we want to know what's your story, man. Have you always wanted to be an entrepreneur? What did you really do to get you to what you're doing now?
Yeah, growing up as a kid, I always had these visions of running businesses, and the first job you can get as a kid, at least back in the day, and this probably dates myself, I was a paper boy, right? And back
what's
then
the paper?
Yeah, right. So I used to have to walk around, drop the newspaper at the door of about 100 houses, and then you'd have to go back during the week and collect all the money. And I realized this was a lot of work, but everybody wanted to be the paper boy because that was the only way you were going to make money. So early on, I realized that my friends wanted to be paper boys too. So I ended up kind of subcontracting out the delivery of the newspapers to my friends. and I was just the face. So I go around and collect the money, and then they would do all the hard work and do the delivery.
Are we still talking about paper? Or
yeah, I swear to God.
It sounds like something else, some other kind of business.
No, and so like literally I just kept getting more and more paper routes, and then my mom one day comes into my room and she's like, "We need to talk." And I'm only like 12 years old.
Yeah.
And she's like, and she dumps out a pillowcase full of money. And she goes, do you have any explaining to do? And I'm like, what are you talking about? I got a big smile on my face because, I've built this little business and I'm just subcontracting it all out. So I kind of knew early on I wanted to build things. And, when I graduated from college, I moved to Vancouver and helped bring a company public. And then went right into startup mode, and I helped start up a couple different businesses, and I really enjoy building something from the ground up. I think the opportunity to see the direct effect of your effort is really exciting. Whereas, if you work for 1,000-person company, you could take a week off and no one really notices.
Right.
But yeah, I love the entrepreneurial spirit.
Have you always wanted to work in the fishing industry, or did you just kind of find yourself?
So I worked in an agency and a digital marketing agency, and I was a partner there. And these guys came into my agency and they wanted to build a fishing reports website and charge people money to get fishing reports delivered to their phones. And I thought to myself at the time, I'm not gonna lie, I thought to myself, I'm like, this is the dumbest idea I've ever heard. I'm like, all it takes is a quick Google, search, and I can find fishing reports everywhere for free. And so, I told the guy I was a big believer in karma. I couldn't take his money, and I sent them to another firm. Well, I kept sitting there thinking, I'm like, fishing. I'm like, if you gave my brother one day left on this planet, the kid's gonna go fishing. And then I saw an ad for the Bassmaster Classic, and I had never been to Classic, and it was down when it was on the Red River in New Orleans. And I started thinking, maybe I should go check this thing out, because for some reason fishing net wouldn't leave my mind. So I went and I sat in the audience, and it was for the weigh-in, not knowing what to expect. I'd never seen it. And I remember sitting there and, all of a sudden, this is back when ESPN owned it. And all of a sudden, the announcer comes on, the fireworks start going off, and out comes a Toyota Tundra pickup truck with some guy standing on it, holding up, 2 little 5-pound bass. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, sure.
Yeah.
But then I'm watching the crowd go crazy. And then I saw the magic happen of product placement, where the guy would literally stand up and say, well, if it wasn't for this system, I wouldn't have been able to find my way through the fog. And then the next guy got up and said, if it wasn't for this system, I wouldn't have been able to do that. And I watched every guy in the crowd elbow their wife or girlfriend, say, baby, that's what I need for Father's Day. I need one of those. Mm-hmm. And I was like, wow. And I saw an opportunity. And then I realized, more Americans fish than play golf and tennis combined. And so I thought to myself, well, maybe that guy that came into my office, I shouldn't have pushed away so quickly.
Right.
And so I thought about it, and then I threw out the idea, and then I sat on it. Get this. I sat on the idea of Lucky Tackle Box for about a year. And lo and behold, Mystery Tackle Box popped up and Tackle Grab popped up. And I was like, oh man, I was sitting there. I was kicking myself because I had the idea before they had even started.
Before curated boxes was a real thing,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so once I realized that I was going to be late in the game, I had to jump in, and that's when, I found an investor and we started Lucky Tackle Box. Nice.
Hey man, so here's a question for you. All right, so you and I both, we both do marketing, and so we both have ideas that we think are so grand and so awesome, and we've put it together and we've tried to sell, our team on the vision, and well, they're not really picking it up, but we're excited, and it's the best idea as long as it can be executed. Everyone's gonna love it. It's gonna be so good, and then the idea flops, right? And it's like I'll give you an example, right? Like my best Yak Tribe shirt designs that I feel I've ever designed. Like, I put a lot of time into it. Like, I really focus on the details, and then like it's not that really good of a shirt that sells, but it looks awesome to me. But then the shirt I designed that took me like, I don't know, like 4.5 minutes, and I thought was kind of not that good. Everyone loves, and it's like, what? Wait, what? And so so we have these ideas, right? And sometimes they flop. And so how often does that happen to you? How many of your ideas, whether they're small ideas within a company or just big ideas like a Monster Bass or something you've tried to do, how many of them have failed? And then like, what do you do with that failure?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I'm going to answer it a couple different ways. I think it comes down to timing and execution on a lot of them. And I'll give you a different example. Most people that are listening to this have heard of Uber. Mm-hmm. Uber was not the first to market. They weren't even close. The company that started it all was this company called Taxi Magic. And you'd literally just schedule it all and the car would show up. But they executed horribly. And they didn't have the right plan. So a lot of it just comes down to execution. The other thing is really there's a fair bit of luck in some of it. I'll tell you, I'm the same way. I've designed T-shirts, and literally the agency that I worked with came back to me and goes, Rick, this isn't 2000. He's like, this is not the design that we should be putting out to represent your brand. And I said, I know, but my audience wants it. And so sometimes you have to think about it in terms of, you and I might look at it and think, man, this is the best design ever. But the audience looks at it and says, I don't really like it.
Right.
You know, the market research is really important. For me, listen, I've made, for every one thing that I've done really well, there's probably 2 things that have failed. And you got to take from those failings and literally just learn them and not make the same mistakes again. Like, that's what if I could, you know, I have a 14-year-old boy, and I tell him all the time, I'm like, making mistakes are a part of life. And some of the best learning, there's some of the best learning opportunities. And the biggest thing you take away from it is just try not to make the same mistake twice. Learn from the first and try not to make it a second time.
That's a good piece of advice. Hey, so we got a lot of people that listen. We have a lot of entrepreneurs that listen to the show, actually. And so this next question is a good one that I think you could shine some light on. I just got a Facebook message this morning, and so this isn't. I'm not saying this to be like, look at how awesome I am, right? Everyone who watches the show knows it's really about the people. And so, but I got a message this morning from a lady out in, it's like on the edge of Mississippi and Louisiana. And she said, hey, she's a kayak fisherman. She goes, hey, I'm watching the show where we are 5 episodes in. You're episode 5. And so she said, I'm watching your show, and my school, we're trying to show our kids that entrepreneurship is more attainable now than it ever has been. It's still something that it's something you can attain, something that you can strive to be. And so she said she's been watching these shows and listening to everybody that's been on. Everyone so far that's been on is pretty much an entrepreneur or owns a business or something. And she said she's showing these shows in her classroom.
Amazing.
And so like Vance was just on a few episodes ago. You know Vance from Line Cutters?
Sure.
He was on Shark Tank, and so he goes around and speaks, and so she's playing his episode in the school and just taking these bits of wisdom and just sharing them with her kids. And so so here's a question I think they would really benefit from hearing from you, and it's this. What is your best tip for somebody, whether they're 12 years old sitting in a classroom today, or they're 55 years old trying to figure out like, what should I be doing right now? What's your best tip for somebody with a big dream, a big business dream, and an idea that they're holding on to that they really, really want to do, but they just, I don't know, what am I supposed to do? I just have the dream.
That's a great question. Especially for the kids that are out there that don't have access to money, right? Because a lot of their ideas are going to take some money. I think the first idea is, if you've got an idea and you've got some strong conviction and really feel like it's something that you want to pursue, then you absolutely should. Because better to chase that dream than to spend it just playing Fortnite. I'm not knocking Fortnite, but listen, at the end of the day, if you might have the next big idea sitting in your head, and you should get together with yourself, or if it's you and your 3 buddies, get together and write up a business plan. There's a lot of little business plan templates online that can help you just structure so that you can kind of organize your idea into something that you can then take to, maybe it's your parents, maybe it's a teacher, someone that can then give you some guidance and some ideas on what are the next steps. Heck, I have people that reach out to me all the time after they read the blog post on MonsterBass about why I started MonsterBass, or why I started the company. And they've been sending me their ideas nonstop, and I'm happy to look at them. But I think if you can bring your idea in a structured manner to someone that can help you with some next steps, that's a really great start. And you know what? Your idea could be something that, maybe it takes a little bit of money. Okay. Well, maybe you can go to your parents. Maybe you can go to your family. Again, a teacher probably can point you in the right direction in places where you can get some crowdfunding money so that you can bring that idea to life, because it'd be much better to bring your idea to life and give it a shot than to spend the rest of your life sitting there thinking like, what if I had done this? I really wish I had.
Right. Yeah. To think that, there are kids right now that in a few weeks are gonna hear this show in their classroom, and I think that's a really good piece of advice. And so actually, there was a teacher. I was part of a club called FBLA, Future Business Leaders of America. It's something I really, really loved doing. And my teacher, I don't know if every school has that really, but my teacher really pointed me in the right direction when I had ideas, and was able to point me in the right way. And that was her first thing was, where's your business plan? That was the first thing. Yeah. And so, great piece of advice. And so, Rick, if you could fish anywhere in the country, you get on a plane tomorrow. It's happening. You're on a plane tomorrow. Where would you go fish in the USA?
Wow. In the USA. I thought you were going to say the world, so I started thinking. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to lie. Really, I grew up in upstate New York, in Syracuse, growing up fishing on Oneida Lake. I do have that special affinity for the St. Lawrence because the smallmouth up there are something spectacular. And I have family there. So if I could get on a plane today, I'd probably want to go to the St. Lawrence and go catch some smallies. Nice.
So you already touched on this question, so we're going to move right past it. But Kayak Q305 Fishing said, will monster bass ever cross into salt? So the answer is no. You're going to focus on bass and putting the best baits in the box, right?
Yeah. Okay. I don't want to ever say never, but I don't have a plan to open it up to salt. I think what we may do is offer up an ice fishing box for the portion of the country that doesn't have open water year round, to give them something else. But I'd really like to stick with bass.
Gotcha. And here's a quick one. AJ Gore, sure you know who that guy is.
I've heard of him.
Will MonsterBass sponsor MLF or FLW pros in the future?
Probably. I think at the end of the day, my vision of a sponsorship is different than I think what most companies view it as. I honestly don't care if my logo shows up on their shirt or on their boat wrap. If I were to sponsor a professional angler, I would want them to drop knowledge to my subscribers and viewership. I would want them to be a part of helping us select baits. I work with a couple anglers right now that on a monthly basis are providing us guidance and knowledge to help us make better bait selection. Because, one of the things that we do differently, and this is where a lot of the effort comes in, is we don't just send you a box of random baits every month like everyone else. When you think about bass, you got their seasonal feeding habits determine, what baits we should be throwing, and the stage of the season in Michigan in March is not the same stage of the season as it is in Florida in March.
Right.
So why would I send you the same baits? So if I'm going to sponsor a pro, it's going to be because I want their knowledge and guidance, because I want people to become better anglers, and I want them to have a ton of fun and catch more fish. And so that's the type of sponsorship I'd probably be looking for.
Gotcha. Okay, got that one. All right. And so here's the last question for you, and this is going to be the one. This is the one to hit home, because this is a question that I ask every business owner, or try to, that comes on this show, because everybody has a different answer. And so today there's a lot of people who see somebody like you. There's a lot of successful entrepreneurs and business owners and manufacturers out there, and they say, I want what they have. I want to be at that level. And so the question is, do you really? Because at the end of the day, everybody has a different dream, a desire, a plan for their life. Everybody has a different idea of what success looks like to them, because my version of success probably isn't the same, line up with your idea of success for you and your family and your life. And so, so that's the question. What does success look like to you? When have you, I guess, officially, quote unquote, made it? Is it a place you can even make? What's success look like to you?
I think if I can wake up in the morning, look in the mirror and be happy with the person that's staring back at me, knowing that I can provide for my family, then I've made it. Mm-hmm. Because at the end of the day, the guy that has the most money it isn't the guy that's always the happiest, right? First and foremost, I need to be able to look in the mirror and be comfortable with what's looking back. And I need to be, I'm a huge family guy. Like, I will do anything for my family. I have a big, extended, very modern family. And for me, those are the two most important things. And I feel like I've made it. I don't have the most money in the world, and I don't care about that. I love what I do. I'm comfortable with the person in the mirror, and I'm happy with, being surrounded by my family and friends.
Good. That's a good answer, man. Well, Rick, I want to say thank you for being on our show. You offered a lot of very insightful things, a lot of valuable pieces of info, man. And so we're giving away a MonsterBass subscription this episode on this show. And so I will let you know who the winner of that is, and I'm sure when this comes out, give it a share. And yeah, bro, I just really, really appreciate, the time that we've had together, working together, and just developing our friendship and relationship. It's been invaluable to me, and so I'm grateful to have you on the show.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And for anyone that wants to give MonsterBass a try that doesn't win it, I'm happy to give them a discount code. They can sign up on monsterbass.com, use promo code SAVE10, and it'll take $10 off their order.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, and I'll put that in the description of this video once it comes out. So, perfect, man. I really appreciate you.
Yeah, man. You too. Hope you have a great weekend, and say hi to your family.
All right, will do. I'll be in Louisiana catching redfish.
Nice.
Yeah, man.
I'm jealous. You're killing me.
I'll talk to you later, man.
All right, take care.
Bye. All right, guys, so that was Rick Patri with MonsterBass. And so thank you for tuning into this episode. I know he had a lot of good things to say. He has a very long history of entrepreneurship, and so everything he was saying was very wise. There's a lot of personal trial and personal error and real-life experiences and failures and victories to back up everything that he was saying. And so if you don't follow him already, give him a follow. I'm not talking about MonsterBass. I'm talking about Rick Patri. You can find him on Instagram. You can find him on Facebook. give him a follow, watch his journey. He's good at sharing it, and he's very real. And so I'm really appreciative to have you on, Rick. And so thanks for taking the time to do that. Guys, that is the end of our show. Again, we are giving a MonsterBass subscription away to you guys. All you have to do to enter, please make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel that you found this video on. Leave us a comment. Whether you're on Apple Podcasts, leave us a comment. If you're on SoundCloud, leave us a comment. If you're on Facebook, just drop us some sort of love so that we can see that you are engaging with our content in some way, and that's how you get entered to win the swag. And so every single week we have something to give away. Let's see what week it is. I was already at Ride the Bull, okay? So I think I am going to be filming in Tennessee here in the next week or so, and we have some very cool things coming out of a few future episodes. So please make sure to stay involved in what we're doing, stay engaged in what we're doing. If you have any questions for me, I am not against just doing a show, answering questions, talking about kayak techniques, not bringing somebody on, just talking. So if you have any questions, please DM at Yak Tribe on Instagram, or go to our website, yak-tribe.com/contact us, or just go to our homepage. You can find it very, very easily. Send us a question. I'd be happy to talk about those things if I can. And so, guys, that is the end of episode 5 with Rick Patri from MonsterBass. I'm your host, Heath, and thank you so much for being a part of what we have going on here. Our episodes drop every Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I will see you guys next Monday.